How's it going, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. So on this episode, I'm going to be changing out my head gasket on my A20. Now for the record, your setups may be a lot more different than mine, and there may be extra or less steps in your process in removing of your head and reinstallation of it. But at the end of the day, the same key components that need to be removed are going to be the same. So, and also for the record, this is going to be my very first head gasket job ever. So if there's anything I'm doing wrong or you guys would do different or have any tips that you would suggest to me, please leave them down in the comments below. Any uninformational negative comments really won't be helping me out or the rest of the people willing to learn by watching this video. So any knowledge sharing would be helpful. So yeah, here we go, guys. So the first thing you guys should do is disconnect the negative battery terminal from your battery. And then from what I'm gonna do is drain the coolant. You guys don't have to drain the oil. You can if you want to. I recommend that you do. Most of the oil is going to be settled in the pan, so that's not going to be an issue once lifting the head. But changing out the head gasket and stuff, and then you're going to have to do a coolant flush or change anyway. You might as well just have as much of a fresh system as you guys can. Other than that, all in all you guys need to do is just take off anything that'll hinder the head from lifting off from the rest of the engine bay. You guys can lift the head with the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold still on. For whatever reason you guys would want to do it that way, it's just whatever. Some of you guys might face challenges that I may or may not have been facing, so perfectly fine doing that as long as the rest of the other accessories attached to those are disconnected from those manifolds. Okay, I just removed the exhaust manifold as well as the intake manifold, and I'm going to give you guys some pointers that will hopefully help you for your process. So you're going to need a 12 millimeter on both the exhaust as well as the intake to remove those nuts off. So I actually took off the nuts below that connects the header to the downpipe or the res exhaust system. I actually didn't need to do that. I still have enough movement around to be able to play around with so that the studs won't interfere with this header once the removal of the head happens. This may be different for you guys, so running like the EGR or like heater pipe coming through here. I don't think that'd be that much of a difference. I mean, you guys still may have some problems removing this. If so, go ahead and do that. Remove those pipes that you have here. As far as the intake manifold goes, there's a lot of stuff I removed and took off and unplugged and took off that I actually didn't need to do because there was so much playability around with this. As I said, your guys' setups may be a lot more different than what you would have to go through than I am. So just keep in mind for that. But yeah, actually I could have kept almost everything still connected. I even have throttle cable still connected, fuel line connected, fuel return line still connected. Just, I think honestly the only thing that I would take off for sure would be the PCV valve hose, just to make sure you don't break that off like I did when I was installing this. Other than that, guys, that should be it on that. And I'm going to be moving on to the distributor, timing belt, and then if you guys still have your power steering pump, then that needs to go as well. Also, quick note, guys, from memory serves me right, I believe it was a 24 millimeter to remove that heater hose from here. I know carbureted is a little bit different. I'm not too sure on what size is on that. I'm pretty sure it's within the same ballpark. 24 millimeters or 23 millimeters, one of those. And then as far as the O2 sensors go, you guys can you guys can take them out of the header, or you guys can just unplug them. That'll be obviously the easiest route, and other than that, that should be it for header. As far as distributor removal, just make sure to unplug the spark plug wires from the head. You guys can leave the spark plugs in the head if you want, it's up to you. You guys can actually unplug the wires from the cap if you want, whatever's easier for you guys. I know this distributor looks a lot different than you carbureted distributor owner guys or EFI ones. But this is OBD1, just like let you guys know. But same principle when you guys remove this off. Get a pencil or a Sharpie or whatever method to use to mark a line here. Just so when you take this off and put it back on, you can line it up here and you don't have to mess with like it being off timing or anything like that, which shouldn't really be too big of a deal. And then that's it for that. Another thing I failed to mention, also make sure that the engine's at top dead center before doing any of this, just to make things a lot easier once you start putting things back on. I'll get more in depth to that once I start doing time belt stuff, and yeah, once we get there I'll talk about it more. Another thing I forgot to mention that you guys need to take off if you still have power steering, remove the power steering pump as well. Okay, so timing belt removal. So honestly, if you guys are going to be doing a head gasket change, you might as well just change out your timing belt. There's no reason why you should not. So basically on how this goes, I know my cam gear looks a lot different than yours, guaranteed, almost guaranteed. So top dead center is kind of rule of thumb. So imagine if that says pretty much the up. That's engraved in our OEM cam gear. And then you'll notice 2 white marks on ours too, little white dots, one here, one here. So top dead center, if you're gonna go by from what Cam says, obviously you're gonna say up. You're gonna wanna line that dot where the valve cover meets the head right here, that little line. So I'm gonna be rotating it manually. 17 millimeter to the crank. So I want you guys to pay attention to this for just in case something gets out of whack where you're putting it back on, but this doesn't line up with what the crank says. I'll show you guys how to find top dead center for crank. So you look through here, I'm gonna do far out pan view. Okay, go up through here. This is where we find, if you ever check your timing with a timing gun for the A20, it's gonna be here. All right, I'm gonna see how hard this is for you guys to see. Okay, this is gonna be really difficult. Okay. Come on, focus here. All right, this is gonna be very difficult to focus, but you guys see that little black line right here? Okay, so that is gonna say, as you can see, you're gonna see 3 marks, and it's gonna see 15. So that's 15 degrees past top dead center. This is what our engines are called for when you guys do timing on this. And let's just say you have like a regular timing gun, one that you can't adjust or whatever. So you're gonna wanna time the engine to this versus 15 to that. So I'm gonna rotate this thing again. Remember, you want this at top dead center. If you guys can see this. Okay, you see that one right up top there? That's top dead center at 0 degrees. So what I wanna do to line this engine up top dead center before taking off the cam gear for how you find the TDC for the bottom, for the crank, that's where you wanna line this up to that mark right there. And then this cam for the head is gonna be TDC. And this is up, and when that white dot on your cam gear is level to that, you want both of these characteristics to correspond. Okay, so I got it. So the crank right now is at top dead center. That's what it should look like. And the cam, okay. Or sorry, for the cam, yeah, for the head, top dead center. Now I know the markings are a little bit off, as you can tell too how I adjusted it. When I put the belt back on to this adjustable cam gear, I was about a tooth off. So instead of just fixing that, I just got lazy and then just rotated the cam gear to adjust for that. So I'm probably gonna fix that obviously when I throw this all back together. But yeah, that's what you guys need to look for. Oh, and another thing, what I mean by like if you guys just have like a basic timing gun, I guess like so this would be like I would call like a sorry for the flashlight on the phone, guys. This is what I would consider kind of like a stage 2 timing light gun. So basically like, so if I shot this area right now with it and I had this set to 0, it'll be showing me that 15. It'll be showing me 15 degrees marked on the flywheel of our cars. If I notch this up to 15, then I'm gonna be seeing 0 on the flywheel on that. If that makes any sense. A basic one, basically you want to find that 15. It'll just tell you exactly what it's at, which is kind of inconvenient because you're gonna have to like keep turning all that stuff. So if you have like a step, like I would call it like a stage 3 timing gun, like a digital one, you guys could be able to like to hit the flywheel or whatever setup you're doing. If it's on the timing belt itself, it'll actually tell you exactly what degrees everything is set at. Okay, so before I take the timing belt completely off, I'll show you some details real quick. So it'll be a lot easier removing the power steering pump out of the way. The best thing to do when you guys, well, let me show you this real quick. Okay, see that right there? This is the open end on it right now. That's going to be your timing belt tensioner bolt right there. Okay, so that's going to make the timing belt loose enough to slip off the cam gear. Now, more than likely, usually I know in my case, those things are a headache to break loose to start working on it. And if you have any deep sockets, it's going to be almost impossible to get in there. So try to just use just a normal regular size shallow 12 millimeter if you can with a breaker bar, or just anything long enough just to break it open if you're going to use a ratchet. I, however, am using a open end. So if you guys find yourself doing this route, clear out the power steering pump. This little trick I do, just scoop it down here, and then just go downward with it. If that makes any sense. And then vice versa, if you guys were need to tighten something or whatever, which you should. I don't recommend tightening anything using this method. Same thing, and then just go up. So a quick tip there. Since this is a new cam gear, the machining of it make it to where these gears, the teeth really bite on this belt. So I'm actually gonna pry it off like this. Nothing too crazy. Just make sure you work it. You don't want to damage the teeth on the cam gear. You may or may not have this problem on your OEM cam gear, but so this is how I'm going about it, just in case you guys hit a little bump in the road on this part. So there you go. The timing belt is off. The last thing I need to remove now before the head can be lifted is this thermostat housing. It's just two 12mm bolts, one here, one underneath here, nothing too hard. And then the head's gonna be ready to be lifted off from the block. And I'll show you that process, because that's a pretty important process, because if you do it wrong, you guys can have a really high chance of warping the head. And I'm really crossing my fingers that I didn't warp this head once the head gasket blew. It's an aluminum head, so it has a really high chance that it did. But in my case, I actually caught the moment the head gasket blew. I caught the moment the temperature started rising, and it never hit maximum temp on the gauge, and I was able to shut it off within the first like 30 to 45 seconds of me noticing it. Had a friend from the team tow me home to later on discover that it was truly a head gasket problem. So yeah, I'm gonna remove the housing and call it a night. At the time I'm filming this, it's currently Christmas Eve. Christmas is gonna be here in like 4 hours. So for you guys watching, have a happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, whatever you guys celebrate, happy holidays. Hopefully you guys can unwrap all those new car parts you guys got. And I'll catch you tomorrow, but tomorrow's gonna be in like a couple seconds from now. Okay, it's tomorrow now. So I'm gonna talk about a really important part in removing the cylinder head. Now this is a very important step. The Master Shop manual for the A20 isn't really too specific on this, but just from like looking up and doing research and just being taught by other people of how a recommended way of loosening the head bolts and the sequencing, which is very important too. Some people don't do not loosen these head bolts at a certain sequence. They say it usually doesn't matter when it comes to removing it. More important when you are retorquing it down, which is somewhat true, but I'm going to tell you that I'm going to do it in sequence. I'm going to show you how I do it. Now for most common 4-cylinder heads, you're going to have a total of 10 head bolts. You may be 5 on this side and another 5 on that side. And the way I'm going to do it is at 90-degree turns or 1/4-inch turns. Now the master manual says 1/3, but which is going to be a little bit more than that. But I'm just going to be comfortable and just stick with just a 1/4-inch turns. So I'm going to start with, let's see, I'm kind of looking at the camera. So I'll start here first. So you're going to loosen this. 1, 2, sorry about that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. And then repeat. 1/4-inch turns, 90-degree turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And do it until pretty much every single bolt is almost to like finger loose, to where then at that point it doesn't really matter what order it is. You just have to move them from there. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. Okay, so just for a reference, guys, when I mean 1/4-inch or 90-degree turn, so if you were to start here and you guys were gonna do that 1/4-inch turn or 90-degree turn, it's gonna be that much each one in that sequence I just told you. Now the master manual said about 1/3. If you guys want to follow that, that's gonna look like something a little bit like that each turn, a little bit past 90. So you want to do that in that sequence that I just stated. Okay, once the head bolts are about this loose on every single one of them, all 10 are about that loose, you can be able to shake them. You guys can take each one of them all the way out. It doesn't really matter what sequence. You guys can stay in sequence or you can stay out of it. It shouldn't really affect the head at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed with that.